For under $2, you can walk into any grocery store today, pick up a bottle of oil that has been sitting quietly on the shelf for decades, ignored, unlabeled, unmarketed, and begin reversing years of skin aging within 72 hours. No needles, no $400 serums, no dermatologist appointments, no prescriptions. Just 2 oils mixed together in the right ratio, applied to your face for 4 minutes before bed. Women in their 50s are waking up to skin that looks 35. Deep forehead lines, softening, under-eye hollows, filling. Dull, papery texture, gone, replaced by something that looks almost wet with youth. And the beauty industry, a $600 billion global machine, has known about this for over 1,000 years. They didn't bury it by accident. What you're about to hear was not lost, it was removed. The global skincare industry generates over $600 billion a year, and the single biggest threat to that number is a combination of 2 plant-derived oils that cost less than a cup of coffee and can be purchased at any Walmart, Whole Foods, or corner pharmacy in the country. These are not new discoveries. These are not experimental compounds. These are oils with documented, peer-reviewed, clinically observed anti-aging mechanisms. Oils that were used by queens, physicians, and herbalists across multiple continents for over 1,000 years before the first laboratory serum was ever bottled. So why don't dermatologists lead with this? Why are you being sold $180 retinol creams and $300 hyaluronic serums when this formula exists? Because this formula cannot be patented. Because the raw ingredient is unownable. And because an unownable solution is an unsellable product. And an unsellable product is a threat to every SKU on every beauty shelf in every department store on Earth. What they did next was not subtle. It was strategic, systematic, and it worked until now. 4,000 years before the first Botox injection was administered in a Beverly Hills clinic, before retinol was synthesized in a New Jersey laboratory, before a single collagen cream was packaged in a frosted glass jar, women already knew the answer. They had found it not once, but dozens of times across cultures that had no contact with each other, separated by oceans and centuries, and every single one of them arrived at the same 2 compounds. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest surviving medical documents in human history, dated to approximately 1550 BCE, but describing practices going back centuries earlier, contains detailed formulations using a thick, pale yellow oil pressed from the seeds of the Ricinus communis plant, what we now call castor oil. Egyptian women applied it to the skin of the face and neck as a nightly treatment for wrinkles and dryness. Court physicians prescribed it to protect the skin of royalty from the harsh desert sun. Cleopatra herself, according to multiple classical sources, used it around the eyes, not cosmetically, but therapeutically, to preserve the elasticity of the delicate periorbital skin. In the Karaka Samhita, the foundational text of Ayurvedic medicine compiled roughly 2,500 years ago, castor oil, called Iranda Tela, is prescribed as a rasayana, a class of substances believed to halt cellular aging and restore youth. Practitioners applied it directly to the skin as part of a daily ritual called abhyanga, recognizing even then that the skin was not just a barrier, but an organ that absorbed and responded to what was placed upon it. Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, the physician whose canon of medicine remained a standard medical text in European universities until the 1600s, documented the topical use of plant-pressed oils for skin regeneration in extraordinary detail. He described the penetrating properties of certain fatty acid-rich oils and their ability to restore suppleness to aged and sun-damaged skin. He was describing, with 11th century language, what we now understand as transepidermal fatty acid delivery. Across West African cultures, the castor plant, native to the continent, was pressed and used topically for generations before any contact with European medicine. Healers and elder women in communities across what is now Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal used it for skin maintenance, wound healing, and the preservation of youthful skin texture. The knowledge traveled with people along trade routes and survived colonization precisely because it was cheap, available, and undeniably effective. What is now recognized as rosehip oil, cold pressed from the seeds of Rosa mosqueta, a wild rose native to the Andes, was used by the indigenous Mapuche people of Chile and Argentina for centuries as a skin regeneration treatment. They applied it to burns, scars, and aged skin, with documented results that 20th century Chilean researchers would later validate in clinical trials. The Mapuche did not know what a fatty acid was. They did not know the word retinoid. They simply observed what worked. And what worked was this. Here is what is extraordinary. These cultures, Egyptian, Indian, Persian, West African, South American, had no contact with each other during these periods. They did not share trade routes for all of these compounds simultaneously. They did not read each other's medical texts. And yet they all arrived, independently, at oils derived from plants, pressed cold, applied directly to aging skin, with the same reported results. softening of lines, restoration of glow, preservation of elasticity. When 5 separate civilizations across 5 separate continents arrive at the same answer without consulting each other, that is not coincidence. That is the truth working its way to the surface. The Chilean botanist and researcher Dr. Fabian Vasquez formally documented the anti-scarring and skin-regenerating properties of Rosa mosqueta oil in a 1983 study published in the Cytobios journal, one of the first modern scientific confirmations of what the Mapuche had known for 500 years. The ancient world had the formula. They called it by different names, they described it in different languages, but they were all talking about the same 2 oils you can buy today for under $2 combined. Let's talk about what is actually happening at the molecular level, because this is not folk medicine, this is chemistry. Castor oil is composed of approximately 85 and 90% ricinoleic acid, an 18-carbon hydroxyl fatty acid that is essentially unique in nature. Almost no other plant oil contains it in significant concentration. Ricinoleic acid has an unusual molecular structure. The hydroxyl group at carbon-12 gives it exceptional penetration ability. It doesn't sit on top of the skin. It moves through the stratum corneum and into the deeper dermal layers where collagen is produced. A 2015 study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Science confirmed that ricinoleic acid demonstrates significant anti-inflammatory action through prostaglandin E2 receptor suppression, the same receptor pathway targeted by far more expensive pharmaceutical compounds. Inflammation is one of the 2 primary drivers of visible skin aging. Ricinoleic acid suppresses it at the source. Rosehip oil, meanwhile, is one of the highest known plant sources of trans-retinoic acid, a naturally occurring form of vitamin A that functions as a precursor to retinoic acid, the active compound in prescription tretinoin, which dermatologists charge hundreds of dollars to prescribe. Rosehip oil also contains 35 to 40% linoleic acid, omega-6, and 25% alpha-linolenic acid, omega-3, both of which are essential fatty acids the skin cannot synthesize on its own. When these fatty acids are deficient, which they are in most people over 35, especially women post-menopause, the skin's lipid barrier breaks down, water escapes, collagen degrades faster, lines deepen. The University of Santiago, Chile, conducted a double-blind clinical trial on rosehip oil specifically for photoaged and naturally aged skin. Participants showed a measurable reduction in the depth of periorbital wrinkles, the lines around the eyes, as well as improved skin tone evenness after 8 weeks. No pharmaceutical intervention. Just the oil. Mainstream retinol creams are synthesized retinol palmitate, which must convert through multiple enzymatic steps before becoming active in the skin, and the conversion is inefficient. Rosehip's naturally occurring trans-retinoic acid bypasses several of those steps, delivering active retinoid compounds to the dermis with significantly lower irritation and at a fraction of the cost. Combine the barrier repair and inflammation suppression of ricinoleic acid with the collagen-stimulating retinoid activity and fatty acid replenishment of rosehip oil. And you have, at the molecular level, a 2-compound system that addresses all 3 root causes of skin aging simultaneously. The beauty industry sells you 5 products to do what these 2 oils do together, and they sell them to you one at a time. The global anti-aging skincare market is worth $67 billion annually. The broader beauty and personal care market it sits within exceeds $600 billion. And the companies at the top did not build those numbers by selling you $2 solutions. They built them by taking $2 solutions, isolating the active compounds, synthesizing patentable analogs, bottling them in frosted glass with French names, and charging you $180. Retinol, the synthetic version of what rosehip provides naturally, was patented and commercialized beginning in the 1970s. Retin-A, tretinoin, became prescription only, funneling millions of women through dermatologist offices to access a compound that rosehip oil delivers in natural form without a prescription, without irritation, and without a copay. The rebranding was surgical. By the 1980s and 1990s, pharmaceutical marketing had successfully repositioned vitamin A skincare as a medical intervention, something that required clinical supervision, a white coat, and a premium price point. The message delivered to consumers was that the natural version was untrustworthy. Only the lab version could be relied upon. But here is what the marketing never mentioned. Rosehip oil's retinoid content was studied and documented. Its efficacy was clinically demonstrated. The Chilean study existed. The Mapuche tradition existed. The data existed. It was simply not profitable to amplify it. DuPont, which had significant involvement in the chemical precursor markets for synthetic retinoids, and the major cosmetic houses all had a shared economic interest in maintaining the separation between clinical skincare and natural skincare, ensuring that the clinical version commanded premium pricing, and that the natural version was quietly filed under folk remedy and left on the bottom shelf. Meanwhile, castor oil, once a pharmacy staple sold openly for skin and hair, was gradually repositioned through the 20th century as a laxative. By 1970, the primary consumer association was digestive, not cosmetic. Its skin applications were systematically stripped from mainstream conversation. The shelves it used to share with cold creams and skin tonics were taken over by products with patented active compounds and margins 10 times higher. This was not an accident. When an ingredient cannot be owned, the next best strategy is to make people forget. The suppression wasn't violent, it was economic, it was curricular, it was algorithmic, it worked until the internet made it impossible to contain the knowledge any longer. And right now, every dollar you have spent on a branded retinol cream was built on top of a formula that has existed for 4,000 years. Here it is. After 4,000 years of documented use, after 1,000 years of deliberate burial, after decades of being outsold by synthetic imitations, the formula is this: cold-pressed castor oil, cold-pressed rosehip oil, mixed in a 1:3 ratio. Applied to clean skin at night, that is it. That is what Cleopatra's physicians used. That is what the Mapuche healers used. That is what Avicenna described. That is what the $600 billion industry has been selling you in broken, patented pieces for 50 years. Here is exactly how to do it. Step 1. Get the right oils. Go to any grocery store, pharmacy, or health food store. You are looking for 100% cold-pressed castor oil. The bottle should say cold-pressed or hexane-free. It will look thick, slightly golden, and slightly viscous. You are also looking for 100% cold-pressed rosehip seed oil. It should be warm amber. Combined, you will spend between $8 and $14 in total for bottles that will last 3 to 4 months. Per application, your cost is under €0.08. Step 2, mix the ratio. Into a small dark glass dropper bottle, available on Amazon for $1 to $2, add 1 part castor oil to 3 parts rosehip oil. The castor oil is thick. The rosehip thins it to a workable consistency. Shake gently. The mixture should be a warm amber color. Step 3, cleanse your face. Remove all makeup and wash with a gentle cleanser. Pat dry, do not rub. Your skin should be slightly damp, not soaking wet. Step 4, apply. Dispense 4 to 5 drops into your palm. Press your palms together gently to warm the oil. Then press, don't rub, into the skin. Forehead, cheeks, under eye area, nasolabial folds, neck. Use upward motions on the neck and gentle circular pressure on any deep lines. 4 minutes total. 4 minutes. The rosehip will absorb. The castor will leave a slight occlusive layer. This is correct. This is the seal that holds moisture in overnight. Step 5, sleep. In the morning, rinse with warm water. You will notice within 3 nights, your skin feels different when you touch it. Plumper, denser, less papery. A woman named Reyes Castillo, a 54-year-old schoolteacher in Temuco, Chile, the region where rosehip grows wild, began using this formula after learning about it from her grandmother. After 6 weeks, the lines between her brows had softened visibly. After 12 weeks, a colleague asked what she had done to her face. She had spent a total of $11. Compare that to a single bottle of Skin Medica TNS Advanced Plus Serum, $295, which contains synthetic retinoid precursors and hyaluronic acid, doing what rosehip oil's natural fatty acids and trans-retinoic acid already do, in a formula your body already recognizes. This will not replace surgery. It will not erase a deep scar in 2 weeks. If you have a nut allergy, test a small area first. Castor is not a nut, but sensitivity can occur. Rosehip is comedogenic for a small percentage of acne-prone skin types. Use once every other night if you break out. Results compound over 8-12 weeks. Consistency beats intensity. Reyes's grandmother knew this. The Mapuche knew this. The physicians who stood in Cleopatra's court knew this. Avicenna wrote it down 1,000 years ago, and it sat in a library while a $600 billion industry was built around making you forget it. You are not too late. The formula has not changed. The chemistry has not changed. Ricinoleic acid still penetrates the dermis. Trans-retinoic acid still signals fibroblasts to produce collagen. The fatty acids still rebuild the lipid barrier that time and sun have worn away. None of that has changed. Only the price tag has changed. And even that you can undo today for $11. The most powerful anti-aging skincare system on Earth is not in a laboratory. It was never in a laboratory. It was always in a field in Chile, in an Egyptian apothecary, in a Persian physician's compendium, waiting for you to simply remember it. Go buy the oils. Mix them tonight. And when someone asks you what you've done differently, tell them everything. Like this video, share it with every woman you know who deserves to hear it, and subscribe, because what they buried next is even more extraordinary.